I've been opposed to Mussolini's. There was a couple of marches that I participated in '35 against Mussolini taking over Ethiopia, and what was the name of the other country? Can't think of it at the moment. Well, I didn't like the fascists, that was for sure. Now, what's an interesting observation about that is roughly 3,000 Americans went to Spain. There are more when you consider non-citizens, people from other countries that had emigrated here and went back to fight against fascism. Roughly 3,000. But the movement at that point, in terms of the communist movement, that must have had anywhere between 50 and 100,000 members by 1936, 37, the period we're talking about. Their influence and the influence of other trade unionists, for example, or people in the universities, etc., was extremely large. And yet, only 3,000 Americans went. And why only this particular group? Before I went, I was asked to recruit 10 people who would be willing to go. And I went back to the Y, that was my base, and the union, the laundry worker union, and I got 10 people who agreed to sign up. And I turned over their names and addresses, and I went. I understand they were all called in, but all of them, some didn't even bother to go, and those that did decided not to go to Spain. I know that there were young communist leaguers, and I'm sure party members too, who also volunteered to go, but their organizations would not let them go because they were leaders in the organization, and they felt they would deprive themselves of their leadership if they committed everybody.
No, but if you're thinking with all candor about you going and other people that did not go, 10 people that you recruited, what was the basic difference between you and them?
Well, it's a good question. There are many answers. There is no one. On an individual basis, it's not a question of politics. Obviously, they all agreed with me. They all hated fascism.
Right. On a personal basis.
In my case, well, I think that one thing that played a big role is that I was very emotional about this. I felt it deeply. I hated the fascists for what they were doing. I didn't express it too well. I don't know how many people around me knew that I felt it as deeply as I did, but I felt it very, very deeply. As a matter of fact, as soon as I heard about it, I volunteered, which was in early January. The first group that went across on Christmas Day, 1936. The Americans came last. From all the other international, the Australians came even later. The Canadians and Americans came about the same time in early 37. The first internationals arrived in November of 1936. The uprising was in July. Hitler and Mussolini intervened. The Communist International issues a call, and communist parties around the world are alerted to come to the defense of the Republic.